Hey everybody, Russ here at Shaper, and we just finished this week's session on using Origin and BenchPilot clipped together for automation, and
Unclipped for portability and larger workpieces.
nice. We cut some tenons and bow tie inlays automated on BenchPilot, and we cut the corresponding mortises and pockets for those manually with Origin.
Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date on our new shows that come out, and join us live sometime every other Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific at shapertools.com/sessions.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake.
And I'm Russ, and this is BenchPilot.
And this is BenchPilot. Today is all about going mobile with Origin versus automatically cutting with BenchPilot.
Yeah,
Clip in, clip out.
Clip in, clip out. We love working both ways. It's really flexible. We had this thing running before the show, cutting some bow ties automatically. It's great. It's 20 minutes that we don't need to be hands-on, just dragging the machine around.
Yep.
But when you cut those bow ties into your table, that's an awfully big workpiece. You want to be able to bring the CNC to the work. And so we're going to set that up for you as well. It's the beauty of BenchPilot with Origin. Clip in, clip out.
Yep, still the same tool you know and love. Reminder, everyone, that this is a totally live show, so get those questions in. About halfway through, there's going to be a poll question that pops up. You're going to need to answer that poll question in order to enter and to win our giveaways at the end of the show.
That's right. The giveaway comes at the end where we answer all the questions that you're asking during the show also. So make sure that you drop all those questions in the chat. We've got Ted in the chat today. He's going to collect those questions for us, send them to Jake and I, and we'll answer them all live here once we're done with our demos. Speaking of demos, we've got two big ones today. We're doing these bow ties, cutting the positives with BenchPilot. We still have one left to do. We'll walk you through, and then cutting the negative in this slab over here with Origin in manual mode. Then we're going to set up some tenons to cut on BenchPilot, some kind of tedious tenons, and then we're going to switch Origin back over to manual mode to cut the mortises on what's kind of a larger piece. So, a lot to learn.
Let's do it.
It's going to be a big one. Couple more things, I'm sorry,
That's
that
okay.
I have to say before we get started.
I'm always antsy to start cutting.
BenchPilot's on sale. I think this is worth bringing up right at the top. Between now and June 25th, I think it is.
Correct.
We're going to knock $100 off the price of BenchPilot, so get those orders in. That's also the cutoff for expedited air shipping, which is an extra charge on top of that. That's a plane ticket for your tool from Europe over to our distribution center here in North America. That's for, I think, just U.S. customers if you want expedited shipping.
Yeah, but you'll get it before everyone else.
You'll get it before everyone else. All those dates are pretty complex. We've got a lot of different things in the kitchen cooking right now. But the 25th is the cutoff for the $100 and the air shipping. Also, for Origin, it's our summer deal.
Yes, it is.
We're going to have all the information on that summer deal at the midpoint of the show. At the break, we'll go through all of it because it's a lot to remember and talk about. But the gist of it is you're going to save over $500 when you buy the complete Origin system, which is Origin, plate, workstation altogether. And then we're throwing in a bunch of extra stuff along with that. So stay tuned to learn more. But we don't want to hold off from cutting too much. We still have one more bow tie that we want to set up on BenchPilot here because it's new and we love showing you guys how it works.
All right, so I have some walnut here. We have a piece of eucalyptus with a big old crack in it over there that we're going to be inlaying these bow ties in. And I have all these bow ties nicely nested together. So we left one for us to cut today. And I'm going to walk through, because we've already cut the majority of them, I'm going to show you how to deselect the ones that we've already cut and just select the one that we have left.
Mm-hmm. This is a really cool feature. This is new on BenchPilot. Let's check it out.
Yeah. Quick check on my passes. I'm going to up this because There's only double-sided tape holding this last one down, and I want to make sure it doesn't break free on me. So I'm going to do this in 3 depth passes, no finish pass, just to minimize the risk of it knocking loose.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It might still knock loose.
It might still knock loose.
We'll
but
see.
We got a whole mess of fresh ones ready to go. So
the beauty of automation.
As you can see, where I would normally hit the green button to cut, it's now asking me to preview cuts because I'm clipped into BenchPilot. I'm going to go ahead and click the green button and edit my selection. Zoom out here. Right now, it's assuming that all of these green shapes are selected. That's what BenchPilot's going to run through and cut. And this last one here is black, which it knows not to cut. I'm going to go ahead and just deselect all. Hover over the one I want to cut. Green button to select. And lastly, confirm selection. Now it's only going to cut that single bow tie.
Yeah, pretty handy. There's one other thing that I want to talk about in this show that we didn't cover on the last show, and it's the difference between encoded depths on files with BenchPilot and non-encoded depths on files with BenchPilot. So we're in the selection menu. Let's see what happens if we go back to where we set all of our cut settings. Okay, if we hit the depth button on that, we're going to see that the encoded depth here is unset. Now, if you set your depths in advance, it's going to populate here on this screen, and BenchPilot's going to automatically read that and cut to that depth. But if you're working with flexible thicknesses of material, I didn't know what thickness of walnut we were going to use for these bow ties before the show, you can just leave that unset, and we can type in the depth that we want to cut to in the depth menu like we're used to. Then we can check out those pilot pass settings and make sure that they're right, which we already did. Yep.
All right, so we're going down to 0.39 in 3 passes.
Let's double check the cuts that we selected, preview cuts. We've still got 1 of 11. That's perfect. Spindle on, vacuum on, and we're ready to go. Now, BenchPilot's going to take the wheel here. We've got 3 minutes of cut time at 12 inches per minute. That's pretty slow. It's a very moderate pace, but I really wanted to make sure with this one, since this piece is completely disconnected from the rest of the board, that it has as much of a chance to stick down as possible. Again, that's why we're doing so many passes and why we've got it running pretty slow.
This is great. Right before when we were setting up for the show, Russ reminded me, leaving a little bit of extra space in between your nested parts is actually helping support them. He called it a web of material and double-sided tape in between each of these parts, especially if they're small parts. That web is actually going to help everything stay down.
Yeah, kind of like tabs in a way. We should do a BenchPilot Pro Tips show. Remember when we did the Origin Pro Tips show and the Plate Pro Tips show?
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah. If there's anything that you're curious about BenchPilot, remember, please ask those questions in the Q&A. We're going to save all the good, juicy questions for demos at the end of the show. And the really juicy ones might lead to a pro tip, and that'll pop back up in a future session. If you're curious to hear our Origin Pro Tips and our Plate Pro Tips and our Workstation Pro Tips, those each have their own show. You can find those at shapertools.com/sessions. What is this, Jake? Our 130th, 135th show?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah. So we're on the second of 3, right? 3 steps on this one?
3 steps.
Mm-hmm. About 2 minutes to go. Now, what happens if we turn that speed up a little bit? Should we do it?
Yeah.
So Jake's going to walk back over to the machine. We're just going to see what happens as we turn it up here. You've got this nice speed control knob off on the side, and you can see that that's bumped up from 12 inches per minute to 18. We've gone down to 1 minute remaining here. Speeding it up just a little bit. I think it's going to hold. Everything sounds really nice. You know, when you have all that manual feedback with Origin, it's a little bit of a trick to reconfigure your brain to think more about sounds than how the router feels in your hands. But what we're looking for here is a nice hum, not too screechy. We've got the 6mm bit in here today, which is a little loud in the first place, but you want a nice smooth sound from your bits as you're cutting.
It is on the louder end, but it's what, 6mm by 30mm 3 flute?
Yeah.
Which is really handy when you need it.
Really handy. And that looks really good.
Sweet.
So we got a bunch of bow ties.
Nice.
We're going to need more slabs.
It's not a bad problem to have.
Not a bad problem to have.
All right. I'm going to grab one of these. Remember, always do the wiggle to work your way under.
Mm-hmm. You ever hear somebody call that worrying the part free?
No, but I like that.
That's what my dad always used to say. Just worry it a little bit. Same with tight screws. Just worry them. How's the cut quality on that?
Concerned for you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Nice. Love it. And we didn't even do a roughing pass and a finishing pass on these. We just ran them at a nice, slow, consistent pace. And the quality on BenchPilot's just incredible. Let's hold this up close to that Origin cam so folks can see.
Side cam?
Side cam? Yeah, there we go. That's a good part. Okay, I see that the slab is in front of me, Jake. Should I cut the bow tie mortise here?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't get to do this often.
All right, just a reminder, folks. This is the whole point of the show.
Unclip. Hold on. Well, let's clip that back in.
Okay.
Hold on, I want to do that again.
Fine.
Clip. Unclip. Yeah, very nice.
One more time.
I love that. It's just so satisfying. Yeah, one more time. Thanks for humoring me, everybody. Okay, nice. Here we are, set up on plate here, and the beauty of plate, this universal template for Origin, is that we've got this template already saved. Just like we have our hinge templates saved in here, we've got some signature templates saved in here for signing the bottom of work. Say you want to return to cut some bow ties, well, here it is. It's always ready for you. As soon as Origin can see that tape field in front of it, it says, hey, this is plate, ready to cut some stuff. So we line this up. First thing that we want to do is always make sure to snap back that reticle. The reticle in the middle of plate's window helps you line up your designs so that you can see where you're going to cut them. We're going to cut this just right in the middle of that window. And let's see, looks like if we zoom into this, we do have an encoded depth on this one, 0.49. We're going to ignore that because I know our material ended up being 3/8 of an inch thick. So we can go into here. You know what I'm going to do, just so that I can keep it consistent between multiple bow ties, is I'm going to update this encoded depth. So let's make this just 0.37 so that our pocket's a little shallow. You always want your inlay to be a little proud of the surface. And this is another cool new thing. I don't think we talked about this on the last show, the transfer button. Everybody's been asking for a transfer button to get those encoded depths into your actual cut depth. So watch what happens when I hit transfer. There we go. We're cutting to 0.37. Auto pass or not.
Sweet.
So that's all set for you. Now, I am going to turn auto pass on for this because I love that with auto pass I can do this pocket in 2 really easy steps. So I'm going to turn this on. Let's drop this down because I'm working by hand into 2 steps, 0.185 and 0.37. And yeah, what do you say I cut this out and we intro to folks how this fancy handheld CNC router works?
Do your thing.
Okay.
Z-touch?
Oh yeah, better Z-touch. Okay, yeah, why don't we go through all the settings? Depth, pocket, no offset. We're going to tune the fit on the inside cut. Router bit diameter is 6 millimeters. Z-touch, always important so that Origin knows how deep to cut. Speeds, now this is actually also interesting from BenchPilot. Those speeds are going to carry over. So I want to slow down this auto speed back to the default 10 Origin inches per minute when I'm in manual mode. Something that's nice to keep track of. Okay, we're going to cut this. We're going to do a little explanation also. Tell me if you want me to go outside the lines or anything and get a retraction in here.
All right, go for it.
Okay, all right, here we go.
All right. Not used to being on this side. Whenever we're pocketing, just as a reminder, we here like to start in the middle of the pocket and work our way out clockwise to keep that bit fully engaged and not climb cut. Alternatively, you could start on the outside and work your way counterclockwise to the middle. And usually if you do that, you have a little island at the end that snaps loose. And you can see that big old offset area around your part. That's very intentional. That's just while you're pocketing. We know that pocketing can be, it's more of an aggressive step. You're hogging the material out. So we want to make sure that if you go outside of your line, cue going outside of the line, that it's not going to nick the inside of your line and that it's going to be safe. Russ also has auto pass on right now, which works for pockets. It split this pocket up into 2 depths, and it's up to him. Whenever he's finished filling in the area, he just hits that green button, and it goes down to the next depth. Now switching over to the inside cut to get right up to that line, and we don't need to mess with auto pass for this. We're just cutting straight to the line. This is also where that making sure that you turn your auto speed back down is really important. If you try to hold auto around those corners and you've been cranking on BenchPilot all day, 20 inches per minute around a corner might catch you by surprise. So always double check your speeds. Good time for a fit check. I hear a clog.
You hear a vacuum complaining loudly. It got a little dusty in here. Let's do that fit check, though. Yeah, let's see how this
Fit
goes.
check.
Hold on. I got to cover my mic. I got to blow into this. There we go. All right. Fit check. Oh, yeah. That's slipping right in there. I'm going to go ahead and unclamp everything. Yeah, don't tell IT. My computer's covered in sawdust now. All right, I'm going to drop Origin back over on BenchPilot. We can pick plate up, shake that dust off. Is that a little better?
A little bit.
Okay, nice. Can I trade you? I'm going to vacuum this off again. Oh, yeah. Much better.
I went to hang our plate back up on the wall, but BenchPilot's in the way.
We're going to need to reconfigure those cleats. Okay, very cool. This slab's going to be so stable, Jake. Okay. Look at that.
Nice.
Not too bad. Here, let's show this off on the detail camera. That's a good fit.
Ka-chow.
I'm a little sneezy now that my nose is full of eucalyptus. Yeah, very nice. Well, that's demo 1 in the books, everybody. Clip, unclip, clip.
Clip.
Perfect. We've got a little bit of cleaning up to do. Our second demo is going to be these tenons. I've got the part over here hanging out. We've shown this one off a couple of times. This is a side block from a wall hanging mirror that we're working on with Phil Morley. And it's got some really involved tenons on the top and bottom there. It also has this really interesting curved profile to it here.
So fun to do.
Where we outlined that on Origin, then trimmed it as close as we could to the line on the bandsaw, and then Jake went ahead and cleaned up and faired that curve with just hand tools.
Yeah.
Block plane.
Super fun, especially when the line is so clear that you're shaping to.
Mm-hmm.
You got one on either side, so you kind of meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great time.
Yeah, nice. So this one we're going to set up just like we always do with tenons. Let's slow this down a little bit, though, and walk through the setup on this one, because we breezed over the bow tie thing.
Okay.
Jake's always setting up with clamps on either side. Got that support bar there. And then last thing that we want to check is that the 2 locating pins on the left-hand side are screwed out, which is going to give us our vertical reference. Very nice. Bringing that piece up against the clamping face, against those vertical pins, and against the support bar is going to give you a nice reference in all 3 axes. And then tightening those clamps is just going to hold everything in place. Yeah, very nice. Okay. What do you need next?
I was just going to blow that off.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, we turn the compressor off for these shows because it can get a little loud in here when that... How many gallons is that thing? 150? Yeah.
Yeah, it's big.
It's big.
Okie dokie. Let's start fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and clip in and start my scan.
Now, you'll notice something interesting when Jake's scanning with BenchPilot is that it's kind of clipping off the bottom of the scan trapezoid here. That's so that we're not getting too much of BenchPilot's mechanism in your scan. So what we like to do is start our scan this way, go ahead and let it calculate, then unclip and add to that scan. Kind of similar to what we would do if we had a repeatable location saved on workstation and we just wanted to add a little bit more into that vision range, or if you want to update the image on your plate. It's just so that you can get a little help seeing where you're going. Very nice. And we've got it all in there.
Let's go ahead and make a grid.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the top left grid?
Top left grid.
Just want to make sure.
We can do this one with the router bit too. I don't think it has to be so precious.
Shh, don't tell anyone. All right, make sure that you switch that edge to the back side of the probe. Make contact. You always want to spread your point 1 and 2 out as much as you can too. You don't want them to be right next to each other.
Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that we're unclipped doing this.
Yeah.
Maybe Goose, you could show this off on the overhead cam. BenchPilot moves really cleanly while it's all clipped in, but sometimes when you want the most freedom of movement, just a little unclip. 50-50 on when I would do that or not.
Okay. Top of my list here, we're going to grab side panel.
Yeah, side panel, exactly. And there's a lot of stuff going on in this file. We've got a guide box, we've got a custom anchor point, we've got tenons, we've got a big pocket for them. And like we did with the bow ties, we're going to want to select through a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. And we're going to intentionally deselect some stuff because BenchPilot treats pockets differently. It actually does the finish pass for you.
Yeah, did we talk about that automatic pocketing on the last show? We showed it, but we didn't really talk about what that means.
Yeah, this is our chance to get into it.
Yeah, so cool new feature with BenchPilot. When you're in pilot mode, it's going to cut pockets automatically and all the way to the edge. So when we're working with Origin manually, what that means for pockets is we're going to cut the pocket. There's a little bit of a buffer because when you're working by hand, you might have a rougher cut. And then we always suggest coming back and cutting that with a finishing pass, an inside cut. With BenchPilot, BenchPilot's controlling Origin way smoother than you or I ever could, or at least smoother than I ever could. And so what that means is when it's cutting these pockets, not only is it roughing out the pocket, it's also going to automatically use that pocketing mode to come back and clean up just that last little bit. It's going to do a finishing cut on all the edges of the pocket itself. So where this file is tuned for Origin in manual mode, because we started working on this many months ago, when we use it on BenchPilot, we're going to update some of the selections so it doesn't recut things. Where we have outside cuts for each of the tenons, each of those is going to get cleaned up with the pocketing cut. Oh, my mic is
just showing off what the file looks like as it stands, as you download it. Got our big old pocket, and every one of these tenons has an outside cut around it. That's what we're going to get rid of because we don't need it.
Cool.
All right, let's go ahead and clip in. Got our pilot button. And
yeah, do we even need to look at the depths on this? We're hovering over it, and it's looking pretty sane. 0.375 inches for the tenons and a little bit deeper for the outside cut, so 0.5 inches for the profile cut that we've got on the side here. We don't need to worry about cutting coding. We don't need to worry about offsets. We do have to make sure that we have the bit diameter correct, and we've got a Z-touch.
And for anyone wondering, yes, you can Z-touch while clipped into BenchPilot.
Mm-hmm. The speeds we're going to control, I mean, we could preset them in the speeds menu, or we can just tune it by hand with the throttle on the left side of BenchPilot there once we get going. I think we're ready to select those cuts.
All right. So instead of going through and just deselecting individual ones, I like to just deselect all and come in and choose what I want to select. So green button to select, and I want this outside pass as well. Green button to select.
There we go. That's it.
Confirm. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I think we're ready to go. And whereas right now that says 45 minutes because it's cutting crazy slow, we're going to go ahead and turn that up. So let's see Origin screen here. What are we at? 23 minutes. You know what, Jake? I think we are, we said that we were going to do this in one depth. I think it's set to 3 because it's taking 3 times as long. Yeah, check out those pass settings. Yeah, let's set it all the way to a 1/2 inch because it'll still just cut the 0.375 to how deep it needs to go.
Yep.
And then it'll add a little bit for the 1/2 inch.
All right, now we're good to go.
All right, preview again. Still on 2 cuts, that's great. There we go. And now we can tone that down to 20 inches a minute or so. Yeah, 10 minutes. Just because it's automatic doesn't mean that you need to go crazy with how long it takes to cut things. Nice, and here you can see that automated pocketing mode where it's turning all of these pockets into toolpaths for you, cutting those with a 50% step over, which means that Origin is taking about half the bit diameter at any given time, moving over half the bit diameter every time it expands what it's cutting. And it's going to keep doing this until the pocket is completely clear and all of the tenons have been cut. Nice. And while this is cruising, I think we could do some announcements. Yeah? Shall we walk over to Studio B?
It's the fireside chat area.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Peaceful over here. I need a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Russ and Jake over here in Studio B, ready for the mid-show break. I think the red light means that the camera's on, even though the monitor is still showing BenchPilot.
Yeah, we're just watching BenchPilot.
We're just watching BenchPilot over here. Okay, Goose says we're on. Perfect. So, first and most important, we've got a poll question for you. The poll question is a real mouthful, so I'm actually going to pop over to my other screen here where I have it written down. It is also going to be right in front of you on the page over there. It is... What is one thing that keeps you from wholeheartedly recommending Origin to all of your fellow woodworkers and craftspeople? Because we want to change that, and we want to fix it and make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what we'd like to know today. And by entering this poll question, you're going to be entering our giveaway, which we'll do during the Q&A at the end of the show.
Yeah, we haven't decided what we want to give away yet, so those are usually the good ones.
I think it's going to be the 8mm collet and the 6mm router bit, because we're using those all day today. Yeah, nice. And if we got a lot of questions, then we'll throw in a swag pack or something with that too. Yeah. So ask a lot of questions. We love them. Nice. Poll questions rolling. We've got a couple cool things to talk about. Number one is our BenchPilot launch party.
Yeah.
Which is for anyone here in San Francisco Bay Area. That's going to be a week from Friday, June 20th.
Yeah.
You probably got an email about this. There's some information on our website. If you're in the area, it's going to be your first look at BenchPilot, and we're going to have, I don't know, snacks and drinks, something like that.
Come hang out, see the tool.
Yeah, come hang out. We'll do some demos. Our first cut live with BenchPilot is unfortunately sold out. That was the big event that day where people are going to get hands-on with BenchPilot. But there's still time to come to the party. So sign up for the party, and you don't have to miss work Friday evening.
Nice. Speaking of BenchPilot, there's still an opportunity to get it on sale until the 25th of this month. That's $100 off of BenchPilot if you buy before the 25th. And during that span of time, you can still get the Air Express shipping, which will get you BenchPilot faster than anybody. And yeah, after that, I'm doing Air Express.
Yeah. Also ending on the 25th is our summer deal. So let's go ahead and pull up the laptop here. Goose, let me know when this is ready. We've got over $575 in savings when you buy during the summer deal. So that's going to be $150 system discount, woven dust hose and mini sustainer, free accessories, free project plans, free training classes with Jake and I. And these training classes are going to be everything that you need to know to get started with Origin, Workstation, and Plate. I know we're glossing over kind of a lot for the sake of BenchPilot here to introduce all this stuff, new concepts. But in these Intro to Origin classes, we're really going to slow it down and talk about how to use Origin on its own, handheld CNC router.
Fresh out of the box.
Fresh out of the box from the ground up. I'm looking at our whiteboard over here. I think that's all that we had to talk about. We have BenchPilot launch party, BenchPilot sale, summer deal. I think it's time for a shop tour.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. I heard it is a small, messy shop.
Small but mighty shop. He's got a really cool chair that he's working on in there. This one's from Nick in Kentucky. So let's roll the tour.
Let's do it.
Right, you wanted a tour of a small, messy shop? Well, here it is. This is my two-car garage shop here in Lexington, Kentucky. I've got 2 workbenches, and most of the machines are somewhat mobile or on this mobile cart, and everything's kind of spread throughout the wall to give me as much space as I can in the middle. I've got my shaper and workstation set up over here on this bench with a few other kind of miscellaneous tools and hardware. I've got, you know, in the garage, you got to stack wood and take every little space that you can to make sure you fit everything. And, you know, like everybody else, you probably are finding ways to hoard every little cutoff that you can. But yeah, I just have acquired things or made things to store as much as I can along the way. I've got my 2 workbenches. This is the first bench I built when I was in a much smaller space and eventually had time to build a proper workbench. Right now working on a cherry blanket chest over here. So I've got a few of my hand tools out. I've got all my other hand tools in this Dutch tool chest. Fun project to build. So yeah, this also shares space with exercise equipment and other storage and stuff for the house. So this is my small shop. I hope you enjoyed it.
Jake, I think BenchPilot might put us out of work.
Thank you so much for sending us. That is an awesome shop. You're right, that chair was cool.
That chair is cool, yeah. BenchPilot's just doing the work for us while we get to sit and chat now. We've got about 2 minutes left in this cut, and you can see it doing the finishing passes on all of these tenons. This is kind of the last step of that automated pocketing going. So we're going to do this, then it's going to come back and take one final cut all the way around the workpiece to put that curve in the front.
Nice. The shaping guide.
The shaping guide. So you'll see it's cutting 27 of 31 paths at the top. That kind of helps you keep track of what it's doing as it's going through this process of automated pocketing. Obviously, it's not cutting 28 different parts. We're just doing the pocket and we're doing the outside cut. on the curve, but this does give you a little insight into how long there is remaining on your cut.
Russ, I think our bag is full.
Yeah? Was that the vacuum just giving up the ghost?
Yeah. It's like, you know what? You're ignoring my cries. I'm going to turn off.
We're making a lot of chips with BenchPilot these days.
We are.
So here we are, just taking that curve. And then we'll continue around. Nice. Yeah, one thing that I've loved that we've done on a couple of our vacuums now is we've installed the Festool Cyclone on top, pre-separator. Those are really convenient. Yeah, what are we going to do? Just roll over another vacuum right now?
That's what I'm thinking.
Nice. Let me unplug.
You're fine.
Yeah?
I think it's long enough.
Okay.
All right, we're good.
Nice. Back in action.
See how we did. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. That looks great.
That is awesome cut quality. All right, I'm going to pop this out.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
So if that were the real part, we would cut this down. Yeah, do the same thing on the other side. But you can see how that turns into this.
I think so.
Absolutely. Cool.
It's also making me realize that this cabinet would look sick in ash.
Oh, yeah, it would.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we've got some big parts to bring up on the table, and this is kind of the point. These are parts that would be tough to fit on BenchPilot, although I think in 2 weeks, by special request, we should do a show about how to set up pass-through on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So BenchPilot is designed to work with Workstation very seamlessly, but it's also designed to work without it. And we're excited to show you exactly what that process entails and what it opens up. More cutting space, more cutting range, I should say.
Yeah, we showed a quick video about cutting a guitar body with BenchPilot in this kind of full, how would you call that? Full work envelope mode?
Yeah, max cut.
Max cut. But then even beyond that, you can actually literally pass parts through. So if you're working on a big, long sign, you can do separate letters on the sign. Really crazy. Okay, so let's clamp this down. What is this? This is our top and bottom, or, well, I should just say top of this cabinet. Do we have that piece handy, Jake?
I can get it.
Yeah, that would be awesome to show off.
So we've been working on this cabinet for a while now, and we're finally at a place where we are ready to finish.
Mm-hmm.
We're very excited about it, but it's a tambour mirrored cabinet. This is the top.
Mm-hmm. A little bit too wide for BenchPilot, unfortunately. It's got this very cool, big, long tambour track. It's got some mortises, left, right, and center. Hardware, offset pivot hinge for a drawer/door that we talked about on a session just a couple weeks ago. We're going to go ahead and just cut the mating tenons for this part because we've got it. We've got the tenons made. We're going to cut the mating mortise. Did I say we're going to cut the mating tenons? I think I did.
Yeah, but my brain replaced it.
They're the same thing, you know,
right.
Mortise and tenon.
You need some shaper tape. And we wanted to slow this down and just walk through the whole process again to show the whole process.
And I think we should clip and unclip again.
A couple times?
Yeah, a couple times.
Clip.
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 Unclip.
Bam. We're mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. We're locked in.
We're automated. Nice.
We're automated.
Cool. Got the shaper tape here. This is something that we'll talk about definitely in those Intro to Origin training classes. If you pick up an Origin during this promo period, this is our most basic possible setup with Origin, the tape board. We've got a piece that we're going to work on here. We do need the tape to be in the same plane as the base of Origin, so we've got another board up in front that Origin can look forward at that we're going to apply the tape to. So we'll just lay down some tape here. You don't have to be very particular about how you lay this out. The rows don't have to be perfectly parallel. It's better if they're on the straighter side. You don't want to put a big curve into your row of tape. So what I like to do is just tack down the one side, stretch it across, pin it down all the way, and rub across just like that. That's probably plenty of tape.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, more than enough. So let's do some origining. Oh, got the handle. There we go. So many ways to hold this thing. So many cameras on it also.
Yeah. This is a little heavier.
Yeah. First step when you're working with Origin always is to scan. So we're going to make a new scan. This is how Origin makes a map of the piece that you're working on so that it can cut and keep you on track. You can see that trapezoid area is the area that Origin is looking at forward in front of your design. If I stop looking at tape, you'll see it says, hey, I don't know where I am anymore. Please orient toward already scanned tape. It does need to see that tape to create a scan, to create a workspace. So it's going to stitch all those images together, kind of like a panorama on your phone to make this workspace. And now you can see if I zoom out, I've got a really nice picture of my board that's underneath Origin and the tape field that's off in front of it. So back in here, I do want this to be aligned to this bottom corner of the workpiece. So I'm going to make a grid. We'll make a new grid, come off the edge of the part, and just lower that bit a little bit. If you're looking for absolute best accuracy, we would use just a solid dowel like the back edge of an engraving bit to do this. But I find for quick things like this, just the flutes of a cutting bit themselves are okay. They're 90% of the way there. So we're going to press up against the edge of our material and click the green button to probe once. Then just like Jake did before to set the grid on the tenons, we're going to go nice and far spaced apart, click the green button to probe the second point on the x-axis, and then we'll come around the side to grab that y-axis. There we go. And now you can see we've got this grid at that bottom right corner right there.
Nice.
Now we can import the design that we want. This one's going to be the top shelf. Top shelf, love that. We'll grab that bottom right anchor to match our bottom right grid 0, 0 position, and we can drop that down at 0, 0. Now you'll notice that this whole thing is nice and square to the workpiece. It's coming right up against the edge over here. You can see we've got some extra material over here, but that's fine. If we were to come back and do the outside cut on this, it would just trim that off. Totally okay. So now let's, what do you say we cut some mortises?
Let's do it.
Okay.
This one already has all the depths encoded as well.
It should, yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. So we hover over that, 0.425. If we hover over this, 0.625. I love that hover.
Just the new little pop-up that comes right above the crosshairs. So great.
So we're going to check all of our settings again from top to bottom, starting with the depth. So depth in here, I'm just going to go ahead and transfer over this 0.425. Perfect. All these mortises will be inside cuts. We're going to start them with a 0-inch offset. There's a chance that we might want to open that up a little bit. Usually we need to make mortises slightly bigger. We have that 6mm router bit in there. I always like to Z-touch, good practice. And let's check our speeds because I think those were turned up on BenchPilot. Oh yeah, 29 inches a minute. That's really fast. Let's turn that down just to 15. Nice. Now you'll notice this first mortise, the cut path, which is represented by the dotted line on the inside of the kind of gray cut area here, is inside the circle completely, inside Origin's corrective range. When you've got a situation like that, you can turn on Helix, and it's going to cut this automatically all the way down to the bottom in a nice, clean, spiraling path. So let's go ahead and hit that.
Helix can be a real lifesaver, especially if you're doing a series of large holes or just a bunch of holes. You can really dial in your machine to just do those holes with Helix really efficiently so that you're hanging out just for a couple seconds each hole.
That's 2 holes down, and with those 2 holes down, Jake, I think we should talk about what settings I want to use for the rest of these mortises.
So,
I think that because this poplar is so soft, I think that I can go straight down to that 0.425 with no offset, because these mortises are going to be completely hidden, and just route them right out.
I love it.
No muss, no fuss.
You want to give it a little bit of a negative offset?
Do I want to give it a little bit of a negative offset? Oh, you know what I did? Must have updated the depth, so let's hit that 0.425. Do I want to give it a little negative offset? Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So let's give it a 0.003 inch negative offset. What do you think about that?
I think that's great.
For a
Especially
first
for a
guess
soft wood.
on a mortise fit. Okay, nice. So I realized I needed to update my depth, so I'm going to go ahead and recut these helixes. I'm going to just forget about autopass, plunge straight to my final depth, rip through these mortises, because they're completely hidden. They're blind mortises. You're never going to see them, even if they are a little wobbly.
And you're using the 6mm.
And I'm using
flute.
the 6mm, so it's going to cut really cleanly, and it's going to fit inside these mortises perfectly.
Sweet.
Okay, off to the races.
I like that bit, Cam. Nice. Super easy to cut through. When in doubt, always ease into a new material or a new type of hardwood. You don't know how it's going to react to that bit or just being cut, whether it be long grain or end grain. Work up to the confidence to go to full depth on certain things. You can see during those turns, Russ is holding down the green button to engage auto mode and just lets Origin do that fine turnaround. It's a fun design too because it's intended not to be a through tenon. It's totally hidden. But if you wanted to, you could have these come through the top of your case and do a really tasteful through tenon. Sweet.
Sweet. All right. Moment of truth.
There's so many, it's like, it takes a second to line them up.
Mm-hmm. That's a little snug.
The old hand mallet.
The old hand mallet. Not
Nice.
bad. Good snug fit. That's all we got.
Did it.
Hope we got a lot of questions. This was Origin in and out of BenchPilot. This was click, unclick, the session.
Yeah,
This was
A saga.
really, this is incredible that you've got a CNC machine that you can take with you, but then you can click it in and automate it when you've got like really long, tedious work to do, like a whole batch of bow ties or a really complicated tenon.
Yeah.
So hope you learned something, and hope this inspires you to check out the $100 off BenchPilot sale and the summer deal with Origin. Not to be too on the nose about it, but limited time now until the 25th. Also, don't forget to check out our BenchPilot launch party on June 20th, a week from Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's coming up so fast. It'll be Christmas before you know it. So check that out. If you're in the Bay Area, you probably got an email about it, or we're on Eventbrite for that one. Quick little registration link.
Right on. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.